In Kiev, Ukraine, lives an MMA fighter named Yuri Boyka. He is the best fighter in Europe and has gained the title of Undisputed. One evening, Boyka is fighting in an illegal match held in an underground arena. As the crowd cheers, he doesn't let the opponent get a single hit on him. After a brief one-sided fight, he kicks the opponent in midair and knocks him out. The scene changes to a maximum security prison in Russia. The inmates participate in fights for the guards and the warden's entertainment. Such matches are seemingly friendly to the outside world, but can get very violent with the right participants. The deadliest prisoner of all time is a beast of a man named Koshmar. He is so aggressive that the guards have to chain his limbs and close his mouth to ensure he won't hurt anyone outside the ring. Koshmar's opponent is half his size and can hardly land a punch on him. He slams the man to the ground, breaking his neck before proceeding to punch him in the face. The fight only stops when his face is deformed and covered in blood. Koshmar is known for killing every opponent he fights against, showing them no mercy. He is more of a monster than a human and has no guilt for killing so many people. Unlike him, Boyka is a good man outside of the ring. He hasn't had a great life as he was imprisoned for several years and is a wanted criminal in Russia. But he has been able to put his past aside and is trying to be a better person. He even helps the church in Kiev and is always doing charity work. One day, a priest tells him that he should consider choosing another profession. The priest has always supported Boyka's passion, hence the comment comes off as a shock to the fighter. Boyka replies that his talent is a gift from God, and he is not willing to stop using it. He wants to fight as a professional and not in an illegal environment anymore. In the afternoon, Boyka is approached by his manager, who reveals that he can finally compete legally in legitimate MMA matches. The European fighting tournament happening in Budapest has allowed him to take part in the competition if he wins a qualifying match. Then comes the day of the qualification match. Since it is one of the most important fights of Boyka's life, he is ready to give it all. His opponent is a Russian man named Victor. The match begins, and Boyka lands the first effective kick. In the first few minutes, he shows his defending skills, deflecting every single attack made on him. As Victor gets more frustrated, it is easier for Boyka to make an attack. The judges on the sidelines are already impressed, so when he knocks Victor out with a knee to his jaw, it confirms his qualification. Everyone thinks the match is over, but Victor surprises them by getting up. Seconds later, he is knocked down a second time, but he refuses to accept defeat. By now, Boyka is frustrated, so he lands a third punch on Victor's face, knocking him senseless. After the win, the organizers invite Boyka to Budapest to fight in the league, which will open many doors of opportunities for him. The manager gives Boyka a bundle of money, asking him to train hard because the next match is in 2 weeks. While leaving, Boyka sees that Victor is in critical condition. He feels guilty for hurting him that bad and would have never done it if he had given up after the first knockout. Boyka remembers the priest's advice and prays for Victor's fast recovery. At night, he wakes up to a nightmare of him killing an opponent in the ring. The very next morning, he goes to the manager and inquires about Victor. To his shock, he is told that Victor died last night in the hospital. They had signed a pre-match contract, so the blame falls on nobody. However, in his heart, Boyka knows that he is the cause of the death. I mean, obviously. Upon being asked about Victor's family, the manager gives him a bag that belonged to him. Inside it, Boyka finds a letter from Victor's wife and their picture together. In reading the letter, he can feel the pain his wife must have gone through when she found out about his death. Right then, Boyka decides to apologize to her and make sure she is not facing any problems in life. He knows that his crime will not be forgiven even then, but he doesn't want to run away from the path of redemption. Boyka tells the manager about his wish to go to Russia to meet Victor's wife, but the guy is extremely against the idea. Boyka is still a criminal in Russia and will be imprisoned if found by the authorities. He will have to make a fake passport, which is a huge risk now that he is so close to being a legitimate MMA fighter. Boyka understands the consequences, but is adamant about his decision. In the following scene, we are introduced to Victor's wife, Alma, who is at his funeral. After his death, she is alone in life and has no one to turn to. On top of that, she and Victor are indebted to a crime boss named Zurab. He comes to the funeral and suggests Alma be his mistress to pay off her debt. Alma is disgusted by his presence, but she is careful not to make him mad. She simply replies that she will rather work hard and pay him in installments. Alma owns and lives in a community center. She and Victor built it with the money they borrowed from Zurab. The place is home to many orphans and people who are in need. On arriving in Russia, Boyka goes to meet her, but notices her being taken away in a black car by a bunch of men. It turns out that she works as a waitress in Zurab's underground fighting club. He is very protective of her and treats her like his property. Later that day, Boyka goes to the fight club and finds Alma. When he tries talking to her, Zurab's people stop him and escort him outside. Boyka wants to avoid fighting, hence he politely asks them what time she will get off work. The gangsters attack him at the question, but are in turn taught a lesson for messing with a professional fighter. Zurab sees Boyka fight and is impressed by his skills. He has been needing a good martial artist in his club and wants to hire Boyka. However, the man argues that he is not here to participate in fights. He simply wants to meet the girl. Zurab offers to talk to Alma on his behalf, refusing to let him meet her. But Boyka yet again disagrees with him and walks away. After he is out of sight, Zurab asks his people to keep an eye on him. The following day, Boyka manages to sneak into the community center and meet Alma. He gives her Victor's letter and asks her if she is being forced to work at the fight club. Alma replies that she would like to work somewhere else, but is bound by the debt. She then reads the letter and asks him if he saw her husband's last fight. Boyka comes clean, admitting that he was the last person Victor fought. He tries explaining that the death was an accident, but Alma refuses to listen to her husband's killer. Following the interaction, Boyka goes to Zurab and agrees to fight for him. However, in turn, he will have to forget all of Alma's debt. The deal is that Boyka has to win 3 matches against the opponent of Zurab's choice. The gangster also promises to keep him safe from the police and authorities, since he knows he got into Russia using a fake passport. The next day, Alma meets Boyka to tell him she doesn't need his pity. She wants him to return home, but Boyka insists he is doing this for his own satisfaction. After that, he goes to a local gym to train for the matches, but is bullied by a man. When the guy keeps on poking him, Boyka slams him down with a single kick. Then comes the day of the first fight. Boyka goes against a local fighter in an easy match. The rival manages to land a few weak kicks, but is proven to be weak in front of someone as good as Boyka. He manages to knock him down and is about to throw the last punch, but stops midway. To his relief, the opponent accepts defeat, so he doesn't have to hurt him further. After the fight, Alma serves him drinks. Boyka asks her if she is familiar with a nice local gym, because the one he is going to right now doesn't live up to his standards. Alma thinks about it for a while, before inviting him to use the gym in her community center. He trains there for the next few days, and ultimately, Alma gets used to his presence. Boyka's next match is a 2 versus 1 against a pair of brothers. He is shocked because he was never told about these rules. Zurab boasts that it is his arena, and the fighters have to play by the rules. The match begins, and Boyka struggles to defend against both brothers at the same time. When he tries to fight one, the other attacks, making it hard for him to focus. Still, he manages to push one away and knock the other one down in the seconds they take to recover. It is an equal match until Boyka is kicked in his already injured lower back. The pain is unbearable until he sees Alma in the audience and continues fighting. After that, he kicks both their asses and scores a double knockout. The crowd erupts into cheers, as no one had thought he would win this match as well. The next day, Zurab goes to meet Alma and tries to flirt with her. When she deflects his advances, he accuses her of sleeping with Boyka. He also riles her up, claiming that her husband's death wasn't accidental and that Boyka meant to kill him. Alma pretends to not believe him, but the comment bothers her. Meanwhile, Boyka's manager from Ukraine calls him back immediately because he has a press meeting for the fight in Budapest. Boyka asks him to postpone it since he only has one last fight to win. Upon reaching his room, he finds Alma waiting for him. She urges him to tell the truth about her husband's death, and Boyka starts telling her about all the hardships he has faced in life. He reveals that the first half of his life was filled with misery, and the match against Victor was his only chance at getting a better life. He gave it all and won, but Victor's death took away a bigger part of him. He knows that accepting his help is very difficult for Alma, but he begs her to let him do what he has to. At night, for the final match, Boyka goes against Igor, Zurab's best fighter who has been mocking Boyka since the day he arrived. Igor is especially furious at Boyka because he is a threat to his position in the gang. He takes all his frustration out and showers him with repeated attacks. He manages to put up a tough fight, making Boyka's lower back his main target. But the direction of the fight changes when Boyka lands a double midair kick on him. Following that, he beats Igor black and blue, making him bleed profusely until he passes out. With this, he wins the entire tournament, and Alma's debt is paid. However, Zurab has already predicted the outcome and prepared for it. He stops Boyka and reveals that he has to fight one last man for their deal to be over. Boyka only has a few hours before his meeting in Budapest, which is very crucial for his career, but he doesn't want to leave without saving Alma. Hence, he asks the manager to wait until the next morning and gets ready to fight the final champion. The opponent is Koshmar, the beast who has fought and killed all of his opponents in the Russian prison. He is brought into the arena in chains because of his violent nature. The fight starts, but Boyka is already too tired. He tries his best, but his attacks seem to do Koshmar little to no harm because of his physique. The beast lands several punches on him before kicking him in the jaw. Boyka falls down because of the impact and has a hard time standing back up. Seconds before losing the fight, he gathers strength and stands up again, but is again slammed to the floor. When Koshmar is almost sure that he has won, Boyka takes him by surprise and pushes him back with a kick. After that, the fight tilts to his side. He holds the beast in an arm lock, breaking his right arm before kicking him out of the ring. With this, he finally wins the match, but Zurab is still not ready to let go of Alma. He makes his minion attack Boyka while he tries to run away with the girl. Boyka is on the ground at his lowest when he sees Alma being pulled outside. With renewed motivation and anger, he attacks the guards and kills them all. At last, he gets his hands on Zurab and tackles him to the ground. Boyka is shot in the process, but his pain is overshadowed by his anger. Eventually, Zurab is strangled to death. Alma tries to help Boyka, but he stops her, asking her if he has her forgiveness. Sometime later, the police arrive and arrest him. Before being pulled away, he again inquires if she forgives him, but Alma doesn't give him a reply. Then, Boyka is put back into a Russian prison. A month later, Alma comes to visit him and tells him that he is forgiven. Boyka is relieved for the first time in months, even though his plan to become a professional fighter failed. In the last scene, we see him fighting in the prison's arena, continuing to hold the title of the Undisputed.